RRF Caserta, South Italy. News in English.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are dropping into an incredibly dense and volatile moment in the Middle East.
Yeah.
We're looking at a snapshot from November 2025, where you have this high-stakes international diplomacy just crashing directly into escalating military action on the ground.
It's a total collision.
We're talking persistent conflict, a catastrophic humanitarian situation, and some really deep domestic political turbulence, especially inside Turkey.
That's absolutely right. And when we look at the source material for this deep dive, what just jumps out is the sheer number of things happening at once, all these simultaneous pressures.
Right.
So our mission really is to pull back from the headlines and connect these seemingly disparate events, from political arrests in Ankara to strategic strikes in Beirut to the rain-soaked refugee camps in Gaza.
To help you, the listener, see the whole picture.
Exactly. To help you understand the current complexity and, frankly, the extreme fragility of the entire region.
And central to understanding the diplomatic side of this, at least during this precise period, is a figure who brings moral rather than military weight
to the table.
Papa Leon XIV. His first foreign trip, it runs from November 27th to December 2nd, took him to Turkey and Lebanon. He even had a high-profile meeting with President Erdogan in Ankara.
Right.
So given all the bloodshed, the constant security risk, what was his central message? What was he trying to say?
Well, his message was, it was a searing condemnation of the geopolitical status quo. He explicitly called the ongoing violence a third world war in pieces.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a religious leader basically refusing to let the world normalize this kind of fragmented, persistent conflict. But the phrase that really got analyzed, especially by security experts, was his call for peace disarmed.
Peace disarmed. I mean, that is a direct challenge to the primary operating principle of the modern Middle East, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The entire region is built on the concept of military deterrence.
Yeah.
So this isn't just some moral plea. It's a geopolitical concept that challenges the foundational strategies of every major player. Israel, Iran, Turkey, you name it.
So he's saying you can't build stability while everyone is sharpening their swords.
Precisely. He's arguing that deterrence inevitably leads to conflict. Of course, the regional players argue that deterrence is the only thing preventing a total war. And that clash, between doctrine and realpolitik is just critical to understanding this moment.
And while the Pope is there pushing for disarmament, Turkey is also acting as this crucial diplomatic hub for a completely different conflict.
It's amazing, the complexity. Just days before the Pope arrived, Turkey hosted Ukrainian President Zelensky. This was November 19th.
Okay.
And Zelensky met with Erdogan to try and relaunch negotiations with Moscow, even as, these severe Russian attacks were hammering Kharkiv. It just highlights Turkey's unique position.
A mediator for everyone.
Kind of. A critical mediator between the West, Russia, and the Middle East, all while facing its own massive domestic issues.
So while we have these high-level leaders talking about demilitarization, what are the actual groups on the ground discussing? We've got reports about two major non-state actors considering, very different futures.
The first is Hamas. Sources are suggesting they're evaluating a transformation into a formal political party. Now, here's the key insight.
There's a catch, right?
A huge catch. They maintain that disarmament would only happen through a national agreement, not because someone from the outside imposes it. This is them trying to negotiate a path to political legitimacy.
So like the IRA or the ANC, maybe?
Perhaps, yeah. But they're making it very clear they will hold on to their military capacity until they achieve their political goals through a state-level negotiation.
And that move to legitimize themselves politically but keep the military option, that radically changes everything. But then we see the exact opposite pressure on Hezbollah in Lebanon.
That's where the aggressive demands come in. Israeli Defense Minister Katz publicly demanded that Hezbollah disarm within 1 year or face military force.
The 1-year ultimatum.
Yeah, and what makes this so interesting is that the sources note the minister's own skepticism that Hezbollah would ever actually comply.
So he's making a demand he doesn't think will be met.
Exactly. This isn't just policy, it's a strategic forecast. It suggests Israel is sort of laying the groundwork for a future confrontation, basically saying, we told you so when it happens.
But all these calls for peace disarmed seem almost, delusional when you look at the truce on the ground. A U.S.-mediated ceasefire has supposedly been in effect since October 10th.
Supposedly.
Yet our sources show Israeli military action just repeatedly risking it all through November.
The central contradiction is palpable. I mean, we saw intensified attacks in Gaza and South Lebanon on November 19th, which followed earlier strikes on November 1st and October 28th.
So the question becomes, how can diplomacy even survive?
Right. How, when one side is continuously carrying out what it calls anti-terrorism operations, that the other side just sees as a total violation of the pause.
And the strikes in Lebanon, they really show the conflict widening, risking a major regional spillover. Let's talk about the strike on Beirut on November 24th, the first in months.
That attack hit a residential building in the Hartfreik suburb. You have to imagine people waking up to scattered debris, damaged cars, cracked buildings. The conflict is now reaching directly back into major Lebanese cities.
And into civilian areas.
Civilian areas, which just ratchets up the political tension across the entire country.
This also came right after a pretty critical targeted assassination. What is the killing of Haytham Ali Tabatabai, a senior Hezbollah official? Tell us about Israel's risk appetite right now.
It signals a very high-risk appetite. Targeted killings are meant to degrade an enemy's capacity, but they also guarantee escalation. It's a trade-off.
And that's what happened.
Immediately. Tabatabai was killed by an airstrike on November 23rd, and his death triggered mass funerals in Beirut and swift, very clear condemnation from Iran. This is a deliberate turning up of the temperature.
And then on top of all that, we have this really confusing incident involving UNIFIL.
Yes, the UN peacekeepers. On November 16th, Israeli forces fired on them. That's the United Nations interim force in Lebanon, the people there to monitor the ceasefire.
So what was the explanation?
Israel excused it. They said their soldiers failed to identify the peacekeepers because of, and this is a quote, confusion caused by bad weather.
Bad weather.
Regardless of the reason, firing on international monitors is a really serious indicator of just how volatile that border is.
Meanwhile, in the West Bank, Israel is continuing these vast security operations.
They're framed as anti-terrorism, and they're concentrated in the northern West Bank near places like Tubas. They've resulted in arrests, about 10 injuries, and reports from Palestinian sources alleging some pretty violent mistreatment. This constant localized pressure just keeps the entire region on a hair trigger.
And the response to this West Bank violence is drawing some pretty strong, unified international condemnation. But one statement in particular really stood out.
And this is where it gets really interesting. We saw a condemnation about the increase in settler violence from Italy, France, Germany, the UK, the usual suspects.
Right.
But the biggest political shift came from the U.S. ambassador to Israel, who explicitly labeled the violence committed by settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank as terrorism.
That is a massive political move for the U.S.
Huge. It places the actions of Israeli settlers under the same legal and rhetorical umbrella they use for Hamas or Hezbollah. It really indicates a breaking point in Washington's patience.
If we connect all these security operations, all this diplomacy, back to the bigger picture, you just see this profound human cost. The utter collapse of stability is just laid bare.
It's measured even in the exchange of the deceased.
Which is a devastating but absolutely vital part of any functional pause in the fighting, the ability to return bodies.
And we saw several really complex exchanges in November. Hamas returned the body of a deceased hostage, Dror, who was killed back on October 7th. And in parallel, Israel returned unidentified remains and bodies of Palestinians to Gaza's Ministry of Health for mass burials. These exchanges show that a thin thread of cooperation still exists.
But the body exchange process earlier in the month, that just highlights how broken the trust really is.
Exactly. On November 1st, Hamas delivered other remains, but subsequent forensic analysis determined those remains were not from any of the last 18 remaining hostages.
So it was a failed exchange.
A completely failed exchange. And the inability to even agree on the identities of the deceased just shows you the deep, deep level of operational mistrust.
And the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains catastrophic, and now it's being made worse by the climate.
Yeah, nature itself is just compounding the misery. Torrential rains and floods hit Gaza on November 25th. This worsened conditions for thousands of displaced families. The sources describe damaged tents, a public health disaster on top of everything else.
And the scale of human losses, it's just hard to even process the numbers.
It is staggering. As of mid-November, authorities are reporting that they are struggling to recover the bodies of approximately 10,000 people.
10,000.
10,000 people still believed to be under the rubble. When you have that many people just trapped, The effort to even account for the loss overrides any attempt at recovery.
And yet, amidst all this chaos, one source offered this small glimpse of resilience.
Yeah, a small mention of children finding a brief moment of peace and stability through music lessons, a tiny bit of normalcy in the middle of it all.
Okay, so let's pivot now, away from the direct conflict zone to a nation that is both a major regional player and is grappling with its own immense domestic turbulence. Turkey.
Right.
The political stakes involving the mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, are just breathtaking.
This is a defining political battle for Turkey's future. İmamoğlu is the main opposition figure, a clear rival to President Erdogan. He was arrested back in March, but the report from November 11th is just shocking.
He's accused of 142 crimes.
And is potentially facing a total of 2,430 years in prison.
I mean, could you even wrap your head around that number? 2,430 years. That's not a real legal sentence.
It's not. It's not about due process. That scale of charge is a clear, targeted political tactic. It's designed to permanently neutralize an opponent, to erase them from the political landscape.
And that tension is also spilling out into the streets.
Very much so. We saw large-scale protests in Istanbul's Taksim Square on November 25th. Demonstrators were calling for action against violence against women and, specifically, demanding the country return to the Istanbul Convention.
And adding to all this political and social pressure is a major looming environmental catastrophe. The water crisis.
It is alarming. Istanbul's water dam capacity is critically low, reported at only 21.87%.
22%, wow.
And on top of that, severe drought and intensive irrigation have caused Lake Iznik's water levels to drop by 350 meters, threatening irreversible damage.
And the sources raise a really critical policy question here. Why isn't a nation surrounded by 3 seas utilizing desalination technology?
That is the core question, and it reveals this deep political and infrastructure vulnerability. Look, desalination is expensive and it's energy intensive, but given the climate pressures, relying on seasonal rainfall just seems completely unsustainable.
So it's a political failure.
It's just a political failure to prioritize long-term resilience over, say, immediate budgetary concerns.
Before we move on, there were 2 other remarkable, almost shocking domestic incidents in Turkey from the sources.
Yeah, first a shocking family tragedy. 4 family members died in Istanbul with pesticide poisoning listed as the probable cause. A really upsetting domestic story.
And the second one?
The second, the Turkish professional soccer leagues were just thrown into chaos. Investigations into a major betting scandal led to the suspension of over 1,000 footballers and referees.
1,000.
Over 1,000. A massive, embarrassing upheaval for the country's entire sports infrastructure.
So we have this picture of domestic collapse in Turkey, driven by infrastructure failure and political conflict. But if we pivot towards the Gulf, we see a totally different story.
A completely different story. Huge efforts to future-proof the region through tech, which highlights a really stark contrast.
The ADIPEC 2025 Energy Conference in November focused heavily on AI solutions for the energy sector. Why is AI the focus right now?
Well, it's crucial because the region needs to future-proof its main resource while meeting global climate commitments. They're using AI to rapidly detect emissions, to manage drone monitoring, control autonomous wells.
So it's about efficiency and decarbonization.
Exactly. Reducing methane intensity, it's a leapfrog attempt into cleaner operations. And sustainability isn't just a corporate thing there, we see it at the community level too.
Right, Qatar Sustainability Week.
Exactly, also in November. It showcased local communities, schools, small businesses presenting their own innovative projects that are aligned with these big national climate goals. It's about getting public buy-in.
We also see the region trying to balance its rich history with this extreme modernity.
The blend is fascinating. You look at Doha's old port. Historically, it was a center for pearl fishing. Now it's been completely transformed into a luxury nautical center.
A push towards high-end tourism.
Clearly. And similarly, Turkey is promoting itself as a year-round destination, marketing ancient sites like Monte Nemrut and the Euphrates, trying to blend history with modern tourism to stabilize its economy.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? Our deep dive really reveals this core, almost paralyzing contradiction in the region.
You have these critical, high-level peace efforts, the Pope demanding peace disarmed, Zelensky trying to negotiate, all attempting to stop the violence.
And yet,
the military conflict just continues unabated, driven by targeted assassinations, localized security operations, and this profound political pressure.
the sheer density of events in just a few weeks is staggering. You have political tactics designed to eliminate opposition, mass social protests, environmental collapse from drought, and the expansion of international conflict all happening at the same time in the same place.
And this creates an environment where the lines between a political organization, a militia, and a security force are constantly shifting. Hamas is attempting this political transformation, while Hezbollah is expected to resist disarmament by force.
And this leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. In this fundamentally unstable environment where the future paths of groups like Hamas and Hezbollah are being defined, and military escalation is a daily reality, what specific external pressure point, whether it's diplomatic clarity from global powers, crippling economic sanctions, or even the immediate threat of internal environmental collapse like Turkey's water crisis, what has the greatest potential right now to fundamentally alter the regional calculus away from perpetual conflict?
RRF Caserta, South Italy. News in English.